You guys all having a good night? See here. How can I see who's in the room? Who's in the room? 27. Oh, we got 27 people here. Adriana, what's good, Adriana? Alex Diaz, Angel. Let's see, who else we got here? We got Ashley. What's up, Ashley? Who else? Batten. What's going on, Batten? Bree's in the house, and we got Emily already. Eric's in the house. iPhone's in the house. Jessica's in the house. Joey! Josh is in the house. Kiana's in the house. Kay Rangel. M0. Maria's in the house. Michael Flan. What you doing, Michael? Pauline's in the house. Patrick is in the house. Ro. Saul's in the house. Tara. Vietnamese. Vietnamese in the house. What's up, Victoria? How you guys doing tonight? You guys all having a good day? If you're from California, let us know. And if you're not from California, let us know. Let us know in the chat where you're from so we can kind of pinpoint where everyone's at. What up, Josh? Riverside.
I think we had like 60 to 75 people not from California on this one.
Oh, that's good. Sacramento's in the house. San Diego, IE represent. Of course, love I. Dallas, man. As a Cowboy fan, I was pretty depressing, Crystal. Not gonna lie, broke my heart watching the Cowboys lose again. San Francisco, dude, you know what, Maria? San Francisco's starting to pick up momentum. You know, prices in the Bay are starting to pick up. Staten Island. Saul, that means you are up at 9 o'clock. We got a vampire in the house here. Saul's here at 9 o'clock, soon to be in New Jersey. Nice. Right, Saul? Man, it's like Vampire City right now, man. You up at 9? You know how special I feel right now? You up this late? 41 people. Jeanette's in the house. See here. Who's here not joined? Let me see here. What's going on? Anyone else? Dracula. That's right. Is that VA, right? Virginia's in the house? I love, dude, East Coast people. I love it, East Coast people. How you guys all doing? So tonight, before we get started, I want to say first thank you to everybody who logged on tonight. We're going to wait. It's 6:01. We're going to wait till 6:05. So I know some people are getting off of work. We have a lot of California people on. So right now, if you do have a question, please ask it in the chat. A little summary of what's going to go down tonight. So after we get everyone in, 6:05, Kina, you know, my #1 real estate agent in California is overall my favorite. She's going to go over the real estate side of home ownership. And then after that, I'm going to go in and talk about home ownership and how it saved my family's life. Because buying a home now, you might not know this, it's not buying the actual house anymore. It's preserving life. I never thought about it that way until I actually did a deep dive in my family life and how homeownership has preserved us to where we are today. And a lot of you guys might not know this yourself, or if you have parents who own homes or your parents, they made these huge sacrifices back then to preserve life, not to own the house. Because if you check the insurance on the cost to rebuild a property, it's not that expensive. Okay. But we're not fighting, like I said, homeownership anymore. We're fighting inflation. And as you guys know, if you're a Democrat, Republican, I'm not here to debate that. All politicians, they spend in money. And as they keep spending, cost of living has gone up. I remember I used to love the sausage McMuffin. Remember the 2 for $2? I was like, I can live on 2 for $2 all day long. Now it's 1 for $4. So what happened to the 2 for $2, right? So the cost of living keeps going up. And today I want to emphasize that. And the window's opening up again for some of you guys, where home ownership is available. Okay. So we're going to go over that and go over different ways to get an affordable payment so that when rates pull back, you can refinance and keep that low payment and preserve life. Okay. You know, people tell me all the time, man, you're just pushing home ownership. First question I ask them, do you own a home? They say no. Second question I ask them, where do you live? Most times either at their parents or their aunt that they're paying really cheap rent at. I ask them, if your aunt or your parents did not do that, are they homeowners? Most of them say yes. Could they afford their home today? Most of them say no. That's a question I think most people, the people who kind of are anti-homeowners, get really quiet about, because if their parents or their aunt didn't buy that home for them to live in at an affordable rate, or for them to live in rent free, there's no way they can be barking the way they're barking. So I know all of us, we don't have that privilege where maybe our parents didn't pave the way, or maybe it's up to us. So that's what I'm going to share the story about today on my dad, who I thought was the biggest wuss in the world, made the hugest sacrifice so that we can preserve my brother, myself, I don't even want to get in and start crying right now. Sorry, guys. I thought about it because I
It's
went home
a
to my parents a couple days ago, and it was like I sat in my old room. My room is pink now. I don't know what my dad be tripping or what he's taking these days. I know he walks around in his underwear when I'm not around, but all I know is that my room is pink now. And I just remember just laying there in my room, go like, I ain't nothing against pink, but my room was white when I was there, and now no one lives there. He painted pink, but I'm just laying in my room, and my brother sharing the room with my brother back then. It's like the memories and times, and I just think, dude, Dad, why can't we afford to do shit? And he put it in the house, but nowadays, 30 something years later, he's traveling the world, preserved life for us. So, but yeah, before we get into that, guys, I just want you guys to know I really appreciate everybody. After we're done, I just updated the 2024 home buyers guide. Okay. And Kina is going to be sending it out to you guys. So be on the lookout for that. Also, for those of you who, you're like, after you hear all this, man, I still want to, pace myself. We also have our Wham wallet where it does a soft pull. You can see where you're at and it'll help track where your progress is. So when you're ready to buy a home, you just, the app will tell you, it'll notify you. Also notify you when rates go down. Okay. So definitely we're going to provide these tools for you because in the day, I want to make sure that you have all the resources in front of you so you can make the best decision for you and your family. And I felt like if I knew what I knew today, back when I was 16, 17, 18, I would have made other decisions, right? So I'm going to impart some information into you today, same thing with Kina, so that you can make the right decision. And maybe after this, home ownership is not for you, and it's okay. But if it is for you, now you have the tools to make those decisions, right? Anyone, if you want to be transparent, what's something that if you knew today, you would do differently? If you knew 10, 15 years ago, you would do differently. Okay. For me, I probably wouldn't take AP classes. I'll tell you that right now. I would have focused on just general classes and made it through high school, but focused on reading comprehension and just got really good at just basic math and algebra. I wouldn't have taken all these AP classes when I should have spent those time taking speech classes so I can refine my skill. All right. So how about you? Anyone here? Anything that you would learn back then that you would do different now? How about you, Kina? Anything you do different?
I would have like saved more money when I was younger and bought a house as soon as possible. I bought a house pretty young and I was lucky and I worked 3 jobs to do it. But if I had also, even after buying my first place, I wish I didn't wait to go buy another place. Like, because I wanted a single family or I thought the rates were so high. I wish I kind of just doubled down and looked at the deal. That's kind of how
Yeah.
I think everybody feels right now in the market, right? They're like, oh, the rate's a little high. I don't know. It just doesn't feel right. But once that rate drops, it's going to get so crazy again.
Yeah, I actually agree with you, Kina. I didn't believe it. In my mind, I'm thinking, you know
Yeah.
what? 2024, probably not gonna go crazy because people are gonna recoup. And then I couldn't get a hold of you over the
Yeah.
weekend because I know you had open houses. And I've saw so many of my buyers didn't get their offer except like, what? Every week, if I put someone out there in the streets, they're getting into escrow. And I was like,
Yeah.
counter? What's a counter? I thought it was a punch in the face. I'm like, a counter.
Yeah, nothing hurts as bad as feeling like you could have had that good deal and then
Yeah.
you missed the opportunity.
Yeah. I'm
But
with you. So
it's
Jeanette,
the
I would buy
market,
Amazon too. I think what would Osama buy? Would he buy Amazon or Apple? I'd buy as much Apple as I can and probably some Amazon, but I'd probably go heavy on Apple if I knew what I knew now. How about you? How about Osama? You
Oh,
think
100%.
Apple? Okay.
Osama would buy every single tech stock. Osama's my husband for the other people in the chat.
So
Yeah, he's
go ahead.
big on tech.
Cool. Well, first, thank you guys. Turn my phone off. Thank you guys so much for being on tonight. I know it's a weekday and you guys are making a lot of sacrifices to be here. So we want to make sure we provide enough information so you can make the right decision for you and your family. And for all the vampires out there who are out past 8, 9 o'clock watching, thank you guys so much. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. So we are going to start with Kina. She's going to go over the real estate process for you. And then I'm going to come in and tell you how home ownership saved my family and what it can do to you for you as well. And I definitely recommend that you use these tools that I teach you, that when you become a homeowner, how to preserve yourself for the future. Okay, here we go. Here you go, Kina.
Man, I have to say also, I've heard that your story multiple times now, and every time it really gets me. So I'm excited for you guys to hear Min's story. It's really impactful. Hi guys, I'm Kina. For those of you who found me through What's a Mortgage, I am an agent here in Southern California. I own a boutique brokerage of agents in the Bay Area and in Southern California. And I'm going to give you a little bit of info about us real quick. Our boutique brokerage is named Reframe. That's because we're really trying to reframe the way that real estate's done. We are more of like a tech startup in the way that we actually look and feel when you work with us. And we're really here focusing on buyers. That's something that's different about us than most other brokerages. Today, what I'm going to go over with you guys is the actual home buying process, just like the high level overview of it. I'm going to give you some tips for house hunting. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to avoid in your search and when you're finding agents or lenders to work with. And I'll give you some information about our team. Here is my team. We're actually a few more agents now. We brought on a couple of people, a couple of amazing agents in Southern California and the Bay Area, but we cover all over Southern California. I'll actually show you that here. Like I said, we're really known for helping buyers, but specifically first-time home buyers. And so that's where this really comes into play, because we're all about the information, giving you guys the information so that you can make your best move. I know a lot of you guys are from out of the state, and I don't know if you know this, but we have a handful of people who are not even based in this country who signed up for this workshop today. I don't know if we can help you if you're out of the country, and so you should always check with your local people, but we have helped many buyers out of state. We've got a network of agents that we've worked with before, so if you guys do need a referral or somebody to work with, we can help you on the agent side. But What's a Mortgage is licensed all over the United States, which is great. And I also want to tell you guys, What's the Mortgages is also my lending team. I just bought a house and they were my lenders too. So I'm going to walk you guys first through the home buying process. I'm going to give you the high level overviews. If you have questions, ask them in the chat. I've got Patrick and Pauline and Ashley responding to questions. They're some of my top agents at Reframe, and they're here to help. We're, again, really focused on information. So anything you guys need, let us know. We've done this hundreds of times now. The buyer foundations, what you need to do as a buyer to get ready. A lot of buyers, they don't want to go jump into the process because it's big and it's daunting. We break it down into 3 steps just to get you guys information that you need to even decide if you want to move forward or not. A lot of times buyers get the information and they decide it's not for them to go buy a house right now. First step is to talk with an agent. For us to get an understanding of what your questions are, where you're lost, for us to guide you along that path and make your life easy. What we'll do is we'll understand where you're at, what your situation is, if you need to talk to a lender, if you need to get on a home search, and then we'll go from there. 2 is when you want to talk to a lender. If you've already talked to a lender, that's fantastic, but most buyers haven't, because that's the next big step. And a lot of people are worried that a lender is going to run your credit right away. What I love about What's a Mortgage, we work together a lot. We don't have any like formal business together other than we like how each other do business. Because with first-time home buyers, one of the big reasons that they don't want to go and get the information is because they think that a lender might be sharky and run your credit, and then you're stuck with them because you don't want to keep running your credit. What I love about What's a Mortgage is that they can do a soft pull. It won't affect your credit, but they'll give you numbers early on so you can understand, okay, well, my monthly budget is $4,000. I don't want to spend more than that on a mortgage. Okay, so if based on my income, based on my credit, based on my life situation, and the money that I want to spend per month, what does that pre-approval actually look like? Okay, well, if that purchase price is $650,000 and I actually don't like any of the homes at $650,000, then maybe it's not the right time to buy for you, right? So you want to have that number and see and assess the options before going and getting fully pre-approved with, running your full credit check. And that's what What's a Mortgage does with all of our buyers. And then 3, what we'll do is after you find that number, and if you assess that it is a good number for you, say you're like 650, great, I love all these homes. Now what we want to do is get on a local home search. A local home search means that it's connected to the agent's MLS. The MLS is where all of the listings in the entire country are put. Every state has their own MLS. So for the California MLS, we can connect ours to Real Scout, which is a system that allows us to send you the listings directly from the MLS, which is where everything lives, and all of the true information. Because sometimes when it gets translated to Redfin or Zillow, the information doesn't translate correctly also. But what it really is it's a collaborative tool where we can send listings to each other, and you can assess if you like the inventory that's on the market. These 3 steps will give you all of the info you need to decide if you want to move forward or if you want to wait. But if you've decided that you don't want to move forward, at least you have the information that's going to tell you, like, what do I need to do to optimize my home search when I'm ready to go? If you know that you need to save X amount of money, or you need to wait until the interest rates drop to a certain amount, then you're ready and you're prepared, and you can take advantage of the opportunities when they come up instead of missing that perfect home or that exact property that you wanted at the time. Misconceptions. A lot of people think that they go out and they go to open houses and they start searching for a home that they want. And then now that they found the home that they want, then they'll go get pre-approved. What you actually want to do is get at least pre-qualified, right? Pre-qualified means you don't need to have your credit run yet, but all of your information is already set up with the lender. So that when you find that home you like, then you can say, hey, Mitch is my lender on Min's team. Mitch, go ahead, run my credit. We're going to submit an offer. We're ready to go. That way, like I said, it's all about opportunities, because everything comes down to the deal, if it's a good deal or if it's not a good deal. 2, another misconception, people think that an offer means you're locked into the home. Unless you're removing all contingencies, which almost no buyer would ever do unless I don't recommend it, period. We'll get into that later. But you're not locked into a home. You have contingencies that will allow you to pull back out so you can get your earnest money deposit back. Offering means you intend to move forward, and in escrow, if everything checks out to what you actually want it to be, then you can move forward. So you always have the right and the opportunity to investigate if this is the right property for you and check off all of the boxes to mean it's a good option. But an actual offer almost means nothing until it's accepted. And then you open escrow, and once you remove contingencies, that's when you're locked in. And the third misconception, market's heating up again. Min was just saying tons of buyers are putting their offers out there and they're not getting accepted. But even though it's a really intense market, especially here in Southern California, it's not impossible to get your offer accepted. We were really lucky. We had 4 buyers get their offers accepted yesterday at our office, which is amazing. But some of those buyers didn't all have their first offers accepted. Maybe they offered too low before and they tried to get a deal, or maybe they weren't super passionate about a house and they didn't have the right terms because they weren't willing to budge. Ultimately, there's ways where you can be really smart about your offer and really tactical with how you make that offer that will make that a possibility. It really comes down to who you're working with, not just on the agent side, on the lending side. People don't realize that your lender is also a really big tool for you when you're getting offers accepted, because they're the ones who are calling the agent on top of your actual agent, calling the listing agent to tell them how qualified you are. And what do sellers want? They want someone who's going to close. And having a team that cares enough to make those calls is going to help you boost your chances of getting that offer accepted. Any questions? Send them in the chat. If I'm not answering, my team will answer them. And now I'm going to jump into house hunting tips. So I have bought 2 homes that I've bought 2 homes that I would qualify as insane deals. And the way that we get these deals are some of the ways we get these deals, I'm going to basically show you in these slides. So first things first, people think you can't get deals from like listings that are already out in public. A lot of people want off-market deals when they're looking to invest. But all the homes that I found for myself, I found them on Redfin, Zillow, or Real Scout. So that's most of you guys are looking at Redfin and Zillow, and that's how most people get their homes, period. But you can also get off-market deals from your agent. They're not super common, but if you work with an agent who has access to some of those properties, that's another way for you to have opportunities that other people might not have. And you'll have less competition when you're fighting for them. On Real Scout also, like I mentioned, you'll also get homes that are highlighted from your agent. Real Scout, like I said, is a collaborative tool, so we can send buyers homes that we think are some of the ones that stand out the most. The more information you give your agent, the more that they know exactly what you're looking for. If you're really specific as to what you want, it's called your buyer box. Once you know what that is, exactly what you want in a home, it's easy for people to deliver what you're looking for because we can go out and search and hunt for it. I think it's really important not to overlook listings with bad photos. The two homes that I bought were terrible photos. There were actually, in one of them, there was no photos, just a photo of the front of the community that was taken on an iPhone. And then the second home that we ever bought was, I would say, a very extreme cosmetic fixer. But something to consider is that if the photography is really bad and the marketing's bad, like already 80% of your competition has left the room. They're not looking at those homes. You're not competing with those people, and you're probably going to get a better deal. So another tip for you guys is that MLS information will give you a fuller picture. Like I said, the MLS is where agents get their information behind the scenes and put all of the listings on the market. When you have an agent and you let them know you're interested in a home, the first thing that they should be doing is actually going on the MLS to the private remarks and seeing if there's anything important to know about the home. That's where agents include information like sellers motivated, which tells me you're going to get a good deal, or there's solar and it's paid off, or the tenants are in the property and they won't leave and there's problems. All of that private information is really important to look at. And the only way to get that is actually through an agent. So you always want to send listings that you're interested in to your agent. And then 4, really important, if a home looks too good to be true, it probably is. You're going to find that out when you look at the public or the private, or when you hear the private remarks from your agent. I had a buyer this week send me 2 homes that they were interested in. And they said, wow, these deals seem amazing. And I agree. I looked at those 2 homes and I'm like, I cannot believe this is listed at that price. And then I opened the MLS and I saw that in the back under the system, it said 1, tenants won't vacate. They're not leaving the property. The lease already ended. And basically you have to figure out how to evict them. That's a pretty expensive process. But if you didn't know that, now you're fixated on this house, you're really excited about an opportunity that's really not the opportunity you thought it was. So you always want to make sure you have that information before you start looking at homes. As far as touring homes, you're going to end up going to open houses. You're going to go see some private showings. That's like when you schedule something directly with your agent, or you might not have a showing available. How many of you guys have ever wanted a multifamily property? Do you want a duplex? Those duplexes or multifamily properties are probably already occupied. And when you have an occupied home by a tenant, usually what they'll say is drive-by showings only. You can drive by the property, but you're not allowed to go inside because there's tenants inside. Or you can coordinate a private showing with the agent and they'll maybe give you like an hour window one day of one random week because they don't want a ton of showings in the property. Those are also good deals to shoot for because less people are able to see those properties. Tips: when you're actually looking at homes, I 100% recommend going in with an open mind. A lot of times buyers will walk into a property and they'll hate the red carpet, or they'll hate the dark blue walls because they want bright white airy walls or an airy living space. But keep in mind that some of those renovations are not expensive to make. At the same time, they're turning away a lot of buyers. They're turning off a lot of buyers because those buyers don't like some of those aesthetics. But those aesthetics are easily remodelable with a fraction of what the actual value would be if they had remodeled the home before listing it. That's a great way to get a deal. I also want to mention, because a lot of people forget this, there's cameras everywhere when you see homes. Always be careful. Have that real conversation with your agent once you walk out the door and not when you're inside the property, because you never know. If you do go to an open house and the listing agent's there and you really want the house, you want to talk to the listing agent and make them fall in love with you. It sounds ridiculous because this shouldn't be the thing that affects you getting your offer accepted. But if you think about it, real estate's a personal business. Who you work with is who you're going to be, is who you work with. Sorry, there's a fly in my office. Who you work with is going to be who you're stuck with for an entire month during escrow. And if both sides don't work well together, it's going to be a terrible month. But if you meet the listing agent, you make a great impression, they're gonna want you to get your offer accepted. They're gonna hope that you are the one who actually is the buyer of this home, because they're gonna be excited to work with you rather than feel like it's gonna be a terrible process. We actually just got an offer accepted yesterday for one of our buyers. Min's team is also the lender. And the buyer went to the open houses both days. And on Sunday, my husband, who's also an agent, went with them to make a really great impression on the listing agent. There were multiple offers. This is a home on one of the most popular areas of Southern California in Old Town Orange. And we beat people who even had higher offers than us. We did the paperwork correctly, and we were the only ones to do that. And we worked extra hard to make an impression on that agent. And it paid off. Especially if it's a home that's highly sought after. I definitely recommend that. And then as far as like what you don't want in a home, I would never worry about hurting your agent's feelings. Ultimately, we want to know what you guys like and what you dislike. And I actually learned more from my buyers about what they want in a home by figuring out what they dislike. So that's always my first question. As far as offering on a home, what you want is, well, first of all, what you actually want is to submit the offer correctly. So your agent is going to go over the paperwork with you. We actually have a blog and videos that go over everything in the offer, so buyers can self-serve that information, and then we can answer those questions. Your agent is going to write the paperwork, send it to you for signature, package it up nicely, email it over to the listing agent. The listing agent's going to receive the offer, and then they're going to go over it with the seller. Before you submit the offer, your buyer's agent actually needs to call the listing agent to see what's the seller looking for. Listing agents aren't always responsive, so it's kind of a guessing game on some sides, but if they're communicative, that's going to give you a great idea of exactly what you want to put in that offer and what they want to see. Once you send it over, you're waiting for that listing agent to get back to you, and it's a waiting game to see if the seller is going to respond with a counteroffer, accept your offer, or if they had so many other higher offers that they're going to focus on them. As far as tips for submitting your offers, being fast is important. Time kills deals. It's such a common saying, but it's so true, because the faster you are to submit the offer, the more the seller has you in their mind. And as long as you're not submitting a terrible offer, it's going to give you a higher chance of getting your offer accepted later. It is a competitive market. Like I said, don't be discouraged. Anything's possible. But if it's the home that you absolutely can't live without, if you have to go up another $5,000 or $10,000, at least know what it is on your monthly so you can make that decision about what you want to offer in the beginning. Because if you go in too low in the beginning and then there's multiple other higher offers, they're going to discount you later, even if you're willing to come up. Last one is, you have to love your home. I know this goes without saying, but I tell buyers this all the time. Sometimes they'll walk through home and they'll be like, I like it, let's submit an offer. And I'm like, that's not a very excited feeling that I see in most other buyers. We've seen 200 buyers buy homes and watch them fall in love with a property, even though they thought that they weren't going to be emotional. You really do have to love the property that you're buying and feel excited about it, because ultimately it's the biggest purchase you're going to make until you buy your next home. Another chance for questions. I see Patrick answering some, Ashley answering some, Pauline, but go ahead and list them in the chat. Okay, I'm going to jump into what you guys should avoid. First, I'm going to hit houses. As far as homes go, be aware of closing on homes when there's a tenant in the property. Unless you're an investor, unless you're buying a property that's just a rental, be aware of that. If you're buying a duplex, one of the units is going to stay rented, one of the units isn't, and you're going to move in. That's one story. That's a good opportunity because you've already got a tenant in place. But if you're buying a home that you're going to live in, make sure that you really understand what's going on with the current lease in place and how quickly you can occupy that property, and talk to your lender about it. A lot of times there's rules on that. 2, don't ignore homes that need work. For example, if a home needs flooring, painting, and lighting, say that work costs $20,000. Well, if the sellers had invested that $20,000, that home would probably sell for $50,000 more. So if you guys have the cash available, even if it means putting a slightly lower down payment, it's going to end up giving you the lowest monthly possible. And it's going to be a nicer home that fits your style because you were able to make those renovations. 3, locations and layouts, for the most part, cannot be changed. So you might fall in love with the most beautiful fix and flip, but in the worst location on the busiest street, and there's, maybe no parking around. That home is always going to be in that situation, even though it's at its most beautiful on the inside. Location really matters, and so does the layout of your home, because those aren't things that you can fix with a little bit of money or any time. 4, I know when the market gets intense, buyers have the feeling where they're like, I just want to lock in a home. But don't buy a home to lock in a home. Buy a home that you love. I just said it before. I know it's ridiculous because you think, oh, someone's just going to lock in a home that they don't absolutely love, but it does happen. And then you kind of get cold feet and you back out, which is okay. That's why we've got contingencies to protect us. But you have to be resilient in the home buying process. And the last one, like I said, don't ignore listings with ugly photos. The worse the photos, the better the opportunity, because you're cutting down more than half of the competition. As far as agents go, these are the worst things that I've seen and heard from our buyers. Pushy agents. Agents who are telling you that you need to buy this deal. That's never true. You never need to buy the deal. It's not going to ruin your life if you don't buy the home, right? You want to wait for that right one and probably reevaluate if you're with an agent who's very pushy. I also don't recommend working with agents who don't prioritize real estate. There's a lot of part-time agents out there, and as long as they're on a team that's going to, be there to support and guide them, that's how most agents get started. That's totally great. But real estate has to be the priority, not 10 other things, because you want to work with somebody who knows what's going on in the market. They have a pulse on the market. They've got connections. They've got vendors for you. They have good advice to give you. That's really important because this is a huge purchase. A lot of people also want to work with their family just because, and then they live to regret it. Sometimes your family member is an awesome agent, and that's great, and you should support them, or your friend even. But keep in mind that if you're not getting the service that you need, it's really important to be aware, because you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, and working with a professional is going to make a difference on how you actually invest that money. A lot of times what we do is we actually will give family members referral fees, and we'll be able to help that buyer, and then the family member will still get some money from the commission, but they didn't have to do the work. Or they can also learn about the process through that escrow. And then also, you don't want to work with agents who have never sold in your area. Like I said, when I told you guys that we've helped people out of state, that's because we bring experts in. We don't want to help you guys in areas that we don't know about, because agents who have no background in your area don't know the little things that are going to impact you in the future. Like if there's a soft soil problem in certain areas, if there's a higher tax rate in certain areas, if there's increasing crime in a certain area. You really want to understand the situation before you go and you start looking at homes. And that's it. That's all my information. If you guys do want to connect with us, here's all of our social websites. We're big on TikTok. I know Min's big on Instagram. We're on Instagram too, but you can follow us and check out some of our first time home buyer content and let us know how we can help you. All right, Min, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Kina. Can we give Kina a round of applause?
Hey, oh, thank you. I did
Yeah.
want to answer one quick question.
Okay.
Somebody asked a question if you need an agent for a new build. Okay, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Well, first of all, you do not need an agent. You can go to the new build and buy it yourself. I'm buying a new build and I'm a licensed agent here and I have an agent representing me in my own like county or in Southern California. That's how important I think having an agent is at a new construction. I had a buyer just closed December 28th, and the new build had an incentive if they worked with that lender that they would get $20,000 towards their closing costs. So they worked with the lender. I saw the interest rate come back and I told them, I said, hey guys, this seems really high. Like you need to talk to them and tell them to lower, like to figure out if this is the right rate, but it needs to be lower than this. It was like 8%. And you know what rates were back in December? That was crazy. Anyways, I ended up getting on the phone with the lender too. We ended up having this whole long email thread and we just kept pushing. And I actually told them, I'm like, hey, I'm like 99% sure they're just artificially inflating this because they're giving you a credit. So I think if you're just really annoying for like a week, they'll lower it. And I know that's ridiculous information because that has nothing to do with like buying a house, but we were actually just really annoying for a week and they lowered it by 0.5%, which is, I just cannot believe that that worked. But anyways, you want someone who's looking out for your best interest no matter what you're doing. And it doesn't cost you anything to work with an agent for a new construction. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you so much, Kina. And guys, I highly recommend that if you are buying new construction to have your own agent. Here's why. Okay. First, I would use the builder lender. And I'm a lender, I'm telling you, try to use them first, but you do need your own agent to grind. And here's the reason why. Remember, think about this. If you were a real estate agent and you got hired by a builder who cuts your checks every other week, and now you represent the buyer who doesn't pay you, if something goes wrong, who would you defend? Would you defend the builder who's cutting your check every 2 weeks? Or would you defend the buyer? The real estate agent's job as the builder agent is to keep you calm and mellow no matter how bumpy the road is. And if something gets bumpy, they're going to protect the builder. Try to cancel. Let's say you want to cancel. It's going to be hard to cancel if your own agent is not fighting for you. Let's say they're closing late and now rates went up, right? 2022 happened in 2021, right? 2021 kicked in. People were getting the escrow left and right. 2022 hit. Rates go up. Guess what happened? Most of these people didn't qualify anymore. These builders, lenders didn't let them lock. And now they put all these upgrades into a house that they can't close on. See what I'm saying? A lot of people lost their deposits. So you want to make sure you have your own agent. Okay, so I'm with her 100%. So now let's get into my story. Okay, so before we get into it, you have your a pen and a notepad, because today the story of my parents are going to hit hard for you, because when you become a homeowner, remember these tips, remember these tricks. Today, we're teaching you how to survive life using home ownership, right? I'm a survivor. I'm going to make it, right? We're going to find out how to make it today. So before we make it, let me tell you the story about my pops, okay? So this is my dad, okay? My dad, my mom, my whole family here. So my dad was an immigrant from Vietnam. And when he came to America, he had...
I don't want to stop you, but you need to share your screen.
Oh, yeah? I'm not sharing? It's not sharing?
Oh, now it is. Okay, we're good.
Yeah. So my dad came here. We came here from Vietnam. And growing up, even as an adult, I didn't realize the sacrifices my dad made until I got into my 40s, right? Yeah, I'm 43 now. But even in my 20s and 30s, I didn't realize inflation. I didn't understand it. Even though I went to school, I was a loan officer, I really didn't understand it. And I'm like, man, I wish my dad would have taken more risk. If he would have made more sacrifices, my life, my brother's life would have been a lot easier. So the whole time I'm thinking my dad's a wuss. Don't I deserve to get loved enough for my dad to make sacrifices for me? And I didn't realize it afterwards until I started going back to see the sacrifices my dad did make for us. So in 1990, instead of continually renting, my dad made this biggest sacrifice that he could make in his own strength, which was buy a home. And it was like the ultimate sacrifice. To me, if you look at it, $1,500 doesn't seem like a lot. But back in 1990, the purchase price was $160. We actually had to borrow some of that 10% down from my aunt. And our average rent was $500 a month. So he took a risk to pay 3 times the amount of what rent was back in 1990. It doesn't sound like a lot right now, but a lot of you guys are in that situation. Do I continually rent, which is a lot cheaper? Or do I make the leap and make the sacrifice? And maybe for you, you might think, hey, for me right now, I don't want to make that sacrifice. I'm not ready yet. Or like if I am, I'm just holding on. And that's how my dad, I'm sure he was going through the same thing. But I remember years later, it was the greatest sacrifice he's made. My dad loved me. My mom loved me. I just didn't know it because I couldn't sell, because instead of spending their money like everybody else, we were pumping it into this mortgage. And I just sat there and I'm like, I'm so sorry, Dad. I had to like apologize to him because I had a little resentment. We didn't have the nice clothes. People were buying stuff at Miller's Outpost back then. I couldn't afford that. Couldn't afford anything, right? People had the nice Trapper Keepers. I didn't, because we were pumping money into this house. And I'm thinking, why did my dad do that? In 1995, 1997, it hit. And those years, even I didn't understand because I didn't know my dad lost his job. I did, but I didn't really understand, right? Your kids, they kind of understand, but not really. In 95, 96, my dad lost his job. If it wasn't for the house that he bought, the sacrifice he made, we would have been homeless. We probably had no food to eat. And then again in 97, my mom lost her job. And I'm sitting there going, oh my gosh, how hard was it for them? Being immigrants, barely speaking English, applying for a job, getting denied because they couldn't pronunciate, and they couldn't comprehend what other people were saying. And it broke my heart just sitting there going, how was I mad at my dad? So the first thing you're going to do as you gain equity in your home is when you have your job, go out and get a home equity line of credit, ASAP. When you have a job, write that down, because it's going to preserve your livelihood. Because you can't go out and preserve your equity unless you have a job. So that's one thing my dad did learn. So when we bought our home in 1990, as soon as after 1 year, after he gained equity, he went out and increased and got a home equity line of credit. Every year, he would go out and increase the home equity line of credit because he still had his job, not knowing that one day he would get laid off and that we would need to tap into that equity line of credit. For those 3 years, we would have unemployment. Okay. He would pull out the equity line of credit, use it to pay the mortgage, pay the bills, and then he get some part-time jobs here and there, would attack and pay it, use it, attack and pay like a credit card. Okay. And then he would get a job. Then he got laid off again. So he used this line of credit to preserve our life. And then it happened to my mom in 97. And it sucked. It happened to my mom in 97. And if it wasn't for this line of credit, we would have been in deep crap. Imagine COVID happened in 2020. If people didn't have their homes, what would have happened? Right? All these forbearance came out. No politician wants the market to crash on their watch. Okay? Imagine all those people, if they didn't have a home, what would happen today? They would be out in the streets, right? Because eventually rent forbearance went away, right? The rent laws went away and people didn't catch up on their rent. What happened? They would have to move somewhere. People in homes, what happened? They moved the whatever they didn't pay to the back of the loan. So home ownership saved people in 2020, and it saved my life as well. And you don't know when it's going to come and save your life. That's why it's so important for you to realize not today's victories, but tomorrow's. And my dad, with his sacrifices, he made it. And I didn't realize that. And a lot of you guys aren't going to realize that till later on in life when you were like, you know what? I'm so glad I bought my home. Okay. Anyone here a parent, a homeowner, or their parents' parents? Imagine if they didn't own a home, where would you be? Or some of you guys right now are living out your parents' home, saving money for your down payment. How would that be possible if your parents didn't make the sacrifice? Anyone had parents that worked 2 jobs, 3 jobs, got up at 4 in the morning? My dad would get up at 4 and ride the bus and not spend money on gas sometimes. So imagine having that in your life and seeing that and being like, man, why couldn't I realize that? So the things that you don't realize, the sacrifices that you're going to make today is going to preserve and change your life and your kids' life. Okay. So to me, that was probably one of the biggest things that happened in my life is that my dad, this weekend, I went home to see my parents' house. I'm laying there in my parents' bed, in my room, in my parents' house, and they painted the room pink. I'm like, why did my dad paint the room pink? Maybe he's crazy now, walking around in his underwear because he was crazy, making all these decisions. You know what? I'm here by myself now with my wife. I'm wearing pink. I'm wearing underwear and I'm walking around the pink room. I don't know why it is, but he deserves it. I leave him alone now because of the sacrifices he made. You know what I mean? So home ownership, that's how it can save your life. And then after that happened, 2005, my parents, like every other Vietnamese parent, went out, opened a nail salon, right? They had the what the hell nail, the crypto gel, they did it all. But they would not have that opportunity to open their hair and nail salon if it wasn't for home ownership. So we use that line of credit, like I said. So remember, as you have a job and you have an income, continually increase your line of credit. We would use it, pay it back and forth every 5 years. The line of credit turns into a 20-year loan, not fixed, 20-year loan. You can either convert it to a HE loan or refinance it again and keep extending it. So you have your HELOC. You want to make sure you extend it. That's how the rich get richer, by the way. Another thing about HELOCs to teach you guys, everyone write this down. Important. You want to get a HELOC as soon as possible so you can avoid getting sued. Also, avoid judgments and liens. Not all judgments and liens, but this is how the rich protect themselves. When you gain equity, you get that line of credit. Before you get sued, you know what lawyers do? They pull up your assets. If you have a first mortgage and a second mortgage, even though you're not paying interest on it or using it, it ties up all your equity. And people can't come and sue you. If they do, there's nothing for them to take. No one wants to be in third position. Let's say there's only 10% equity left. No one's really going to come and attack you or judgments or liens. So you want to make sure you increase that line of credit to preserve your finances in case there is an emergency, and also preserve it in case there is a lawsuit and you don't pay interest on it. So make sure you do those things. It's crazy, huh? These kind of tricks you learn. These are the tricks you guys are here for. That's why I thank you so much for being on here. So I want to make sure that I teach you guys this. So my parents went out, opened a salon, and they were able to live the American dream. My dad was just tired of getting laid off. My mom was getting tired. Okay. Yes, they should have progressed in their English, but they didn't. But thank goodness for the line of credit, they were able to become their own owners of a business and not get laid off anymore. And if you want to be a self-employed person, a lot of people use their line of credits. People who built wealth in the United States, they use equity in their home. They either sold and flipped, right? Or they use a line of credit to remodel, build an ADU, run other businesses. Most Americans, they don't have 100 grand that they saved up to start a business. They use their equity line of credit. So on top of saving us from being homeless and losing jobs, we use it to open up our own business so that we create our own opportunity. So that's big for us. And that can be for you too as well. You have dreams, you have desires, write it down. And as you build equity, maybe there will be a time in your life where you can tap into that equity to change your life. Next one. This was the worst probably day of my life. But last year, 2006, family emergency. My mom had heart complications and she needed heart surgery. And guess what? Their insurance would not cover the full surgery. So we tapped into that equity line of credit and we paid for my mom's surgery. If it wasn't for that line of credit, my mom wouldn't be here today. She travels the world, enjoys herself, enjoys her grandson. But if it wasn't for that house, the house they live in today, right? The house right here, the same house. They're not wealthy people. They didn't buy 2-3 houses. They didn't upgrade. There's one house that my dad, who I thought was the biggest wuss, sacrificed to get 3 times the amount for rent. to save my mom's life. And my mom's still mean to him. I'm kidding, but she is, right? But anywho, she's her life, it saved her life. And you would think this guy keeps tapping into his equity. And I'll tell you a reason why. It's okay. Like, man, well, there's nothing left. He keeps tapping it. We would pay it off, use it, pay it off, and use it, right? 2019. Thank goodness before COVID. My dad and my mom, they retired. Okay. We had a balance of $350,000. We did a reverse mortgage. I know people are anti-reverse mortgage. Not now. Not that inflation's out of control. So my parents, now they're living off of their Social Security. My dad gets $2,400 because he waited late to retire. My mom gets $700 because she retired early. Okay. So now they have a home. They paid into it years and years. We even tapped the equity to not become homeless, to open our own business, to, saving my mom's life. Now in 2019, they're living off their Social Security. You can't live off your Social Security when you're paying into a mortgage. Okay. Now, when they do pass away, whatever's left, or the reverse, is still going to go to my son. Okay. And whenever I feel like I'm ready, I can refinance it in my name. So right now, my parents have their Social Security. My dad has a small little IRA, and I give them money, and it takes heat off of me, right? Anyone help their parents out? Think about it. When you help your parents out, like, you're stressing out which brother or sister or sibling's going to help. And now we know that they have no mortgage payment. We also did something called a loan. Write this down. Loan expectancy set aside. We use the equity to pay the balance, and we cover their property taxes and insurance. So they have no mortgage payment. Yes, their balance is going up. When you do a reverse mortgage, make sure you work with a broker that does a low margin. The higher margin will eat up your equity. Okay. I had a guy, he's a piece of shit. I'll let you guys know that. His mom slaved, right? His dad passed away, left him the property. Now his mom, for whatever reason, she could retire right now and enjoy her life with her reverse mortgage. And because her son was afraid that that equity was going to get eaten up in a reverse mortgage, she has to babysit children part-time to pay that mortgage and taxes and live life, when this reverse mortgage could put his mom at ease. So just understand that if you are one of those children where you're going to inherit a house and you can't help your parents out, you're a piece of crap not letting your parents go into a reverse mortgage, because it's going to eat up your money. That's only, do what you guys want with it. But to me, that was a piece of crap. But we weren't that kids. Now we're able to help our parents out. We're able to let them live and enjoy life. My parents came here from Vietnam as refugees, struggled their whole life. My dad wasn't like some genius. He didn't take risk, but now they travel everywhere. Yes, they use little tricks where they help out the church, and then they get to travel some stuff for free. But my parents have been to Rome, Egypt. They've been to Alaska. They've been to Australia. They've been to England, France. They've been everywhere since 2019. They travel like 3-4 times a year, but they don't have a mortgage payment. They're not stressing about life. Yes, it's on my brother and I now. Like, if we want to pay it off, we're going to pay it off. If we want to refinance our name, we are. If we want to sell it, we sell it. But right now, instead of my parents, they have that money and we give them money they live off of. They're enjoying living life. So the moral of the story is, home ownership saved my family from being homeless when my parents lost their job, from being jobless. So my parents started a business. It saved my mom. It's a life. And last but not least, the financial struggles that most of you guys and your kids are going to run into in the future of getting older and not be able to live a comfortable retirement. Why did you break your back all these years? So when you're in your 60s or 70s and that you don't own a home and you're going to still pay more? So that's why I want to empower you guys today to understand you're not buying a home. You're like, man, why am I overpaying? You're not overpaying for a home. You're paying to preserve life. Does everyone understand that? You're paying to preserve life. Some of you guys will become financial real estate gurus and investors, but for my parents, they weren't that. They just wanted to just have a good life in America, right? Who wants a good life in America? I do. So times are changing, okay? So home ownership can help beat inflation, and that's what you're fighting today. You're not fighting prices, you're fighting inflation. And the longer you wait to buy, and I say this all the time, and anyone can fact check me on this, it doesn't matter if prices go up or down or rates go up or down. Monthly mortgage payments on 20% down or less will keep rising with inflation like rent. Yes, there might be little dips here and there, but overall, it rises. And you're competing against rent and against inflation every day. You're competing against politicians printing money, printing money. We sent, I'm not, like I said, picking aside, all this money we sent to Ukraine, all this money we're just sending out. And guess who's paying for it? Americans. I wish I would have understood this back when I was 18, that inflation is a mother effer. And if we don't fight inflation, inflation is going to gobble us up. Why do you think nowadays it's so hard to enjoy life? You're not making less money, you're making more, but inflation's moving way faster. You know who's enjoying life? People who bought their home before 2021, 22, right? People thought they were crazy. Think about all the shit people talked about them for being crazy buying a home. Where are they now? They're chilling. Even the ones that are having hard time, they have such a low rate, payments less than cheaper than rent. If they have maxed out debt, there's something else they can get called a HEA, a home equity agreement. Yes, you have to share the equity with a hedge fund or with these banks, but they'll wipe out all your debt without you making a payment. I don't recommend it unless you're ready to share your equity, but if something happens, they're ready to take over your house. But overall, you get to keep your low payment. All the debt you racked up, they wiped it out. You have no payment. You can share your equity, or you can just get a home equity line of credit. But there's so much things you can do now with your home, right? Don't even think about your kids, but think about yourself. You're fighting, so when you're in your 60s and 70s, you don't have to fight anymore, okay? So look at it, $2,500 a month for rent. Look at that, $2,500 a month for rent if you pay right now. With 3% inflation in the next 30 years, you're fighting paying $6,000 a month for rent if you don't buy eventually. And I'm not here to scare you guys. You can do the math. You look at inflation yourself. How much of things inflated? Remember, I talked about it earlier. The sausage McMuffin, the 2 for $2, now one's almost $4. Things are moving up in price. So you can't secure all these other costs in life, but what costs can you secure? The cost of housing. For all you California people, you have something called Prop 13. They can only raise your property taxes 1% a year, which is a lot lower. Texas is a little gangster in Texas, okay? Texas don't have state taxes, but you have property taxes. They can reassess it when they want, which is a lot harder, more expensive long-term, okay? So if you're in California at 1%, people can live on that. That proposition saves it. I know some gangster politicians are trying to change that rule. It got a bit back in the face, okay? So here we go. Let's talk about the market, okay? Everyone understand the information, hopefully. If you have questions about HEA, you have questions about HELOCs, right? Send me a DM, okay? So let's go here. So right now, rates went from 8% recently to 6.5%. And most buyers are waiting for rates to hit 5% to buy. So nationwide average purchase price, because I know there's people nationwide, not just California, is about $425,000. I know California, nah, that ain't California. Numbers are a little different in California, but nationwide, if people are waiting for rates to hit 5%, right now, 28.4 million households qualify to buy. Not saying they're all going to buy, but they can buy if they want, right? And when rates are 8, at 5%, 42 million households can buy a home. So right now rates are at 6.5. Do you want to wait for rates to get 5? If that's what you need to do, that's what you need to do. But those are tricks and strategies you can buy now with your 5% and get a 5%. But if you are in a ballpark where you can do it, don't wait. The longer you wait, the more buys you're gonna have to compete with. Anyone try to buy a home before 2022? How was the competition? A lot of people were like, they couldn't, and they realized they got squeezed out eventually. Okay. This is December 2023. There's 714,000 active listings in the market today. In November, there were 740,000 active listings. Maybe it was the holidays, or 754,000 active listings, sorry. So we lost 40,000 active listings in December. And active listings are slowly picking up, but will we get more? I don't know. But with the amount of listings and new constructions actually completed and ready to move in, it's about 800,000 homes. That's about 2.5 months of real estate out there to purchase today. So today, if no new home hits the market, it would take 2.5 months to unload all those homes. So we need 6 months to be in a buyer's market, but right now we're not. Okay. So just understand that the longer you wait, you got inflation you're fighting, which keeps pushing up. You have buyers entering the market, right? And then you also have to deal with, right, more buyers and inflation, and you have to deal with less inventory. Of course, as rates pull back, hopefully more people will list their homes. So in the day, like Kina says, you should do a soft mortgage credit pull and see where you stand. And then get on Kina's home search or a local agent's home search. And if something pops up that falls in your ballpark, do it. If not, just let it wait it out for rates to get lower. So you get more property. But remember, lower rates, more buyers. And the day, you got to make that decision what's best for you and your family. So home buyers are stuck between a rock and a hard place. If you qualify, you don't want to pay today's rates, right? Of course you don't. But if you wait until rates drop, you're going to have to compete against more buyers. So what can you do? Okay. So our goal is to chase the cheapest payment right now. Okay. All this information helpful. Let me know if you have questions. And everyone's thinking, let me just chase the bigger down payment. That's, I think, the number one combating to, like, I'll get a lower payment if I get a bigger down payment. I'll just work. I'll move back home to my parents. I'll save more. I'll work a little harder. I'll have my down payment. Okay. Do you want to wait for a bigger down payment? 20% down isn't always the best option. If it's going to take years to save, the mortgage payment could end up being the same at when compared to 5% down is something that you might want to pay attention to. So 5% down now versus 20% down. That's like the word or the idea that most people have. Should I wait? So the golden rule, I've done the math, is 3 years. If it takes you longer than 3 years to save 5%, 20% down, the payments are going to be the same. Okay, let's take a look. So on a $750,000 home, because I know most of you guys are in California, the ones that are not, there's going to be a QR code, so we can do your own custom payment for you, so you can see it. So on 750,000, 5% down, out of pocket is about 52,500. The payment's 5670. 5670. Yes, that is a hefty payment. Anyone who tells you elsewise is full of crap, and I'm telling you that right now. Okay, but remember, once you gain 20% equity, let's say in 4 years, your payment's 5409. Remember that payment of 5409. Okay, so that you buy now, you pay a little bit more. Let's say you wait 20% down, and it takes you 4 years. I said more longer than 3 years. Homes appreciate 3% a year. The purchase price now on 750 is not 750 anymore. Remember, it's 844,000 at 3% of appreciation. Even at our worst year in 2022, homes still appreciated 3 to 4%. There was a minor dip, but 22, there was a dip, 23, it bounced back, and it's appreciation. Okay. So 3 years. So if you want to, hey, you know what, man, I feel more comfortable waiting out for prices to dip, you can. But when price did dip in 2022, what happened to the payments? It shot up. Okay. So 844,000, 20% down, you would need 185,000. That means if you don't buy now and you buy later on, you would need to save $2,774 a month for 48 months. That means you cannot have your car break down. You can't have any incident. You can't get sick. Nothing could happen unless you're making that type of money to save the 20% down. And look at your payment, 5287. The difference of payment is about $120 difference if you wait for the 20% down. And check this out. Right? The balance is $675,000 4 years later with your 20% down. If you would have bought 4 years ago, when you pay down your house with your down payment, your balance is $677. So a $2,000 difference. I'm showing you this for those of you like, the only way I want to buy is I want a lower payment. You're already making your mortgage payment by paying rent right now and saving for your down payment. So rent and saving, it's almost the same. If you're able to move home and you can save at a rapid rate, like I said, if you can do it within 3 years, I would probably wait it out. And that's me being honest with you, right? Which lender would tell you to wait it out? I'm telling you, if you can save 20% down 3 years, wait it out. Because that's how you offset a little bit of inflation. But if you can't, like most of us, Like my parents, they had to borrow from my aunt. Okay. So what can you do now? Right? Ways to get a cheaper mortgage payment. A 2-1 buy down. Okay. Either the buyer, seller, the lender can contribute. A permanent buy down, or what most people are doing is refinancing. Okay. Let's go with a temporary buy down first. So let's say a $750,000 purchase price. Well, let's go switch scenarios. People who want to go, you're chasing the cheaper payment. Because of the laws that Joe Biden changed and his administration changed in 2023, most people are chasing the cheaper payment. They're going to FHA now. If you're doing 10% down or less, unless you have above a 760 credit score, the FHA payment's cheaper. Here's 5% down, 5670 versus 5432. About 200 and what? 40 bucks. Okay? $240 difference. So if you have a bigger down payment, maybe FHA, yes, you have upfront PMI, but you're chasing the cheaper payment. FHA is cheaper. If you have 10% down and you want to go FHA, it's way cheaper than 10% down conventional right now. So I know a lot of you guys want to go conventional. Just understand that FHA has a cheaper payment. And for those who are going FHA, you don't have to wait till you have perfect credit. As long as you have a 660 credit score and above on FHA, you're going to get the same payment as someone with an 800 credit score conventional. So if you're going to FHA, you already got the better payment. If you're going conventional, maybe the FHA will allow you to qualify for more home, but also get you a cheaper mortgage payment right now. You will have upfront PMI, okay? But your payment will be cheaper. Also, with a lower rate, you're attacking more principal when you refinance. Write this down. If you're going to buy in 2026, that's when I want you guys to refinance the conventional. Why is that? The Fed fund rate currently is at 5.25. And for rates to drop, that Fed fund rate has to drop. 2024, they're expecting dropping from 5.25 to 4.6. 2025, 4.6 to 3.9. 2026, 3.9 to 2.5. So when rates are at the optimal low rate, you want conventional. Why is that? Because you don't want PMI. If you go FHA, you're gonna have PMI forever. Okay. So if you buy and you go FHA to get the cheaper payment now, 2026, once you attack that principal and time has passed, we're gonna go conventional, get rid of that PMI. Even you have less than 20% down, you go conventional, the PMI will eventually fall off. It doesn't happen on FHA. So write that down. On FHA, unless you buy with 10% down or greater, the PMI does not fall off automatically. It will take on the 11th year, it will fall off on 10% down. Without 10% down, you're going to have to refi. Think about all the people stuck with these 2 and 3% rates on FHA because they went FHA, didn't bother refinancing out in 2022, right? You got to, so our goal, since now we know how the feds react and how the market's going to react. Of course, anything can happen in between, but for what's going on right now, 2026, get the cheaper payment right now if you can, if you're fighting for it. And then 2026, the one and done refi, go conventional, and you're good to go. If you're like, hey, I got a 660, 680, get your FHA, work on that credit. 2026, we're going conventional. I want you guys to be successful homeowners, and I don't want you guys to have a mortgage forever. Okay. That's probably one of the few debts you're going to have in life. Our goal is to get rid of it. And hopefully by watching my channel, and thank you for everyone who subscribed, I want to give you guys the skills and the knowledge so that you can get out of your, paying off your mortgage. All right. Does this help you guys out? So let's go 2-1 buy down. And this is why I love working with Kina. Kina's finding deals. Sometimes if you want that cheaper payment, you need an agent that knows what your home is worth and what you're going to write an offer on. Before all these sellers wake up and realize, hey, I'm not going to do any seller concession, or like, hey, they don't know that their house is worth as much as it should be worth. This is the time to do a 2-1 buy down. So let's say a purchase price is $750, 5% down, payment's $56.70. Instead of doing that, either you can come out of pocket, or the lender can come out of pocket, or the seller can help you. Or if you're like, hey, you know what? I know it comps for more, which, like I said, talk to Kina. And if it's worth more, buy for $767 and ask for what, $17,000 to cover your 2-1 buy down. Because you're gonna need like $17,000 here, you can see. Okay. Year one, your payment's $48.59. Right? A little bit easier to swallow on a $750,000 home, $48.59. Year two, 5,300. Okay. So year one, you're saying about 900 bucks a month. Year two, 468. And remember this on temporary buy downs, unless you need to do a permanent buy down, which we'll talk about next. Whatever you don't use every month, you decide to refinance 6 months from now, all that money goes to a principal reduction so your balance goes down. Ah, right? Sounds good. So we know the feds are going to keep dropping rates. So year one, get your low payment. If you buy this year, right now, let's say in a couple months, don't forget, there's 3 rate cuts happening. You still got that low payment. And then you could refinance next year, which we'll go show you in a second. Now you have a permanent low payment. So this is why you got to reach out to Kina. And of course, if you have an agent that can know how to look at comps and make sure you're getting a good deal, then reach out to them. If not, this is why I rock with Kina, right? She's looking out for you guys. She's making sure, hey, even though my clients can afford this payment, but they ain't trying to make that payment, let's get them something, okay? 2-1 buy down all day long, okay? 2-1 buy down. You got to get the seller to help. And right now, you can probably squeeze it out. If you have the right agent digging for you, you can find it, okay? Next one. The permanent buy down, 750, 5% down, okay? If you're going to go permanent buy down, you got to increase the price by 15 grand, 5,400. You're going to save about $240 a month, okay? $240 a month. So it's not a huge savings. I don't like the permanent buy down because even if you refinance within a year, you're going to lose that buy down. You lose the rest of your money. But here's where I like a buy down. Remember, guys, rates are at 6.5. Rates went from 8%, it went higher actually, to 7 to 6.5. When rates hit 5%, we're gonna have 14 million people get off their bum and go out there and write offers. Do you want to compete against them? No. Use the permanent buy down to get your lower rate today. So imagine everyone else waiting for 5s. Why are you gonna wait? Have Kina look for a house where we can get some closing costs and negotiate the 5.75 right now, not later. Next couple months, as the Fed cuts rates, have Kina negotiate a lower rate right now. So you're getting the home at the payment you want when rates hit 5 for a little bit more. Okay. You're increasing the price. You're increasing the price by 15 grand. Okay. And you're going to get the payment you want and you get the home you want without competing against the other 5 million people. So every 1% rates drop, write this down, 5 million more buyers can enter the market. Not saying they're all going to buy, but they can qualify to buy. So you want that heat? I don't want that heat. Back in the days when I used to go out with my friends, I had 2 friends that were models. I would love to go out and party and meet girls and all that, but I know these 2 guys came out, I'm probably drinking at the bar by myself because I am not beating these 2 guys, right? They were on the cover of like Babysitter magazine back then, okay? So I'm not competing against them. So I'm not going to go out there and try to, thank goodness that's what helped me develop my funniness. But I know I stayed in my lane. Same thing. Some of you guys, you might not want to compete against that person who's sitting on a tons of cash waiting for a 5%. And that's why they don't mind a bidding war because they got that money, right? They want that cheaper rate. So instead of waiting for them to enter the market, maybe you might want to do a permanent buy down. You either can come out of pocket or have Kina help you find a deal where you can negotiate some of that buy down money. So you can buy with your 5 a day, right? A lot of you guys that's what the industry is saying. Probably every news outlet that sellers are waiting for 5 to sell and buyers are waiting for 5 to enter the market. Even though they qualify, they want lower rates. But everyone knows the feds are going to cut rates. They said 3 rate cuts. It's a Fed dot plot, okay? Now, or you buy right now, you suck it up. I know it's hard. Like my dad, he sucked it up. Right? I didn't realize the sacrifices. 755% down, right? When rates pull back next year. We know. And you guys understand this. And this is one thing I wish I would have learned growing up. The Fed fund rate. We cannot operate at 5.25. The economy would collapse. Don't forget, another thing I did not know, and to teach you guys, that 5.25 Fed fund rate, our debt, the United States of America's debt is paid off of that interest. America can't pay that interest forever. So we can't keep rates that high forever because we can't afford to pay our own debt, the interest on it. So they got to cut back on that. So now that we know that America has to cut back on that, we know rates are going to come down. So do the math. If it makes sense, cool. If not, if you're not ready, you're not ready. But think about this. You're 56, 70. Now you're at 49, 5,000. What happens if rates get lower than that? Okay. Right now, rates went from 8 to 6.75 or 6.75, 6.5. And the first cut hasn't even happened yet. What do you think is going to happen? Of course, the ideal situation, you get on that home search with Kina, and when the first cut happens in March or April, or I think May, she thinks some economist, my boy Logan Motoshami from Housing Wire, he's an economist. You might want to follow him. He says March is in play for the first cut. 70% chance they're cutting in March. I don't think it's going to happen until May. But if it starts happening, you'll start seeing rates. You'll see rates under 6% or under 6%. That's when you might want to take advantage of 2-1 buy down, permanent buy down, or you're going to buy a lower rate and then refinance again in 2025. Okay. So these are your ways to get a lower payment. I know a lot of you guys are like, you know what? Let's just let's just remove the elephant in the room. It's payment. So on top of the sacrifices that you want to make for yourself, preserve for your life, your kid's life, and this is how you ease the payment. Look for a temporary buy down, right? Maybe you might want to go FHA to get a cheaper payment right now. Maybe do the temporary buy down. Maybe do the permanent buy down, or maybe make the sacrifices. But these are your options to preserve your future. Okay. And if you want, yeah, you know what, man, I'm buying for 500, 400, whatever. I'm buying it in New Jersey or Texas. Here, scan this, and I can get you your own custom payments on these programs. If you're looking for a FHA versus conventional, a temporary buy down, a permanent buy down, what it looks like when you refinance next year, scan the QR code, and we will get you your payments that you're looking for. Okay. So that you can make the best decision for you and your family. Who's got the iPhone on? Can you mute it, please? There you go. All right, guys. So the next step. Once you know now, what do I start? So, the start is getting approved, like Kina said. So there's something called an underwritten approval, a DU approval, and a soft approval. If you're like, I just need to know where I stand and I want to see a bunch of houses so I can see the neighborhood, do the soft approval. If you're W-2, you got good credit, do the soft approval for sure. Okay. Most lenders will be able to tell you what you're going to get approved at by. If you're W-2, you do a soft approval, it should be pretty easy. Anyone tell you it's difficult for poo-poo, okay? But if your credit's kind of tricky, you can do a soft approval now with running DU, like an automated approval. Some lenders might not do a soft approval with the DU, okay? We just got access to it. Just keep it honest with you guys that we just are starting to do it right now. It might take us a couple of days to get it done for you because we're getting used to the system. Soft approval, right? DU. Your credit does not get harmed. You got to upload all your income, your assets. We know where you stand so you can make adjustments. Yesterday, a couple reached out to me. They sent me a picture of a home that they're renting in that neighborhood. Like, man, we saved our down payment. We're ready to buy this house. I got excited. If someone tells me they got their down payment, in my mind, I'm thinking, woo, they're ready to, I got a deal here. Guess what? They were not approved. We have to work on paying off some debt. They have money because they didn't pay their debt. Okay. So they paid down some of it, but not all of it. So we had to make some adjustments. It's going to take a couple weeks. And guess what? It says pending sale now. Then they missed out on the opportunity to buy the home that they want because they didn't do a soft pull and know where they stood. They thought in their mind they can afford it because I think one of the applicants' co-workers bought a house the same price, but made the same income. So they thought we got this. We got money saved, and they weren't approved. Broke their hearts. I told them, like, you know what? I'm sorry, but that's why we need to do these soft approvals. But for those of you, you're like, you know what? Kina, find me a deal. I'm ready to rock and roll. We're going to give you an underwritten approval, right? You guys all heard that story about that Navy Fed person, the discrimination. I'm not saying it was discriminatory or not, but if you're telling me if this person is self-employed, so if you're self-employed, I highly recommend it, okay? And all of a sudden they weren't approved. They were approved, they weren't approved because they didn't go with an underwritten approval. If you get an underwritten approval with a written commitment up front, that has to do a hard pull, the underwriter will review your income and validate it and give you a condition list. They will loan you the money in condition you can complete the following task. And if you can, they're going to loan you the money. So if you do the underwritten approval up front, when you find out and you clear all the conditions, when you find a house, boom, you're getting it. There's no uncertainty. So those are the 3 types of approvals out there that you want to make sure you look at. The soft approval, if you're like, hey, let me dip my foot in the water. A soft approval with a DU, like, you know what, my credit's not that great and my income's kind of weird. If you have to explain your income, do the soft with a DU. I'm ready to rock and roll, or you're self-employed, definitely do the underwritten approval up front. Okay, so you know where you stand. So you got the numbers now. We'll send you more numbers. Go that scan, or send me a message afterwards, right? And then ask this, define what type of approval you want. Okay. So this is what you need for your approval. You're gonna need your last 2 years of your W-2, or last 2 years of your tax returns if you're self-employed. Your W-2, you don't need tax returns. Okay. Last 30 days of your pay stubs, proof of funds. If you're on fixed income, you will need all your reward letters to prove your income. All right. So if you have all that, do the soft approval or do the DU approval and know where you stand so you can make adjustments. I know it's scary, right? I don't know about you. I remember growing up, I used to, like, I'm be responsible. Right? When I used to cut a check, I would write the balance out. Write the check amount. The biggest fear was totaling up before online banking came out, right? Back in the days, I was afraid to total up what I cut because that tells me exactly how much I have left in my account. And I didn't want to face reality. And then because I didn't do that, I bounced some checks. Okay. So you want to do the soft pool. You want to find out where you stand so you can make adjustments. You don't want to be like that couple. You're ready to buy and that home slips out your fingertips because you weren't ready. All right. And also, we're going to send you a copy of our ultimate mortgage guide. That's going to empower you so you can make the best decision for you and your family. How to qualify. All right. Kina's going to send it out to you so you can understand, hey, everything you need to know about mortgages is in our ultimate mortgage guide. And for those of you, homeownership, right? Figure out your why. My dad's why was my mom, my brother, and me. It's a hard sacrifice. But remember, you're not looking into buying a home. You're into preserving your future and your family's future. Okay? Figure out your budget. Definitely figure out your budget. And then match your budget with a realtor in the area that you want to buy in. If your goal is to be a homeowner, you got to start prepping yourself. It's crazy that people spend more times on preparing themselves for Christmas pictures, Thanksgiving, and other events, but they spend so little time preparing for homeownership, which is going to be the biggest investment they'll make in their life. Okay. And if you guys want, you can download our WAM wallet. For those of you like, you know what? I'm not ready for all that, but I want to know where I stand. Download our WAM wallet. It'll verify your income, your credit, your income, your asset, your budget. Okay. See, here it is. The WAM wallet. And then you can start seeing homes. Also, it helps you with your budget. If you pay down debt, it'll tell you how much more you qualify for. If you, when rates drop, it'll notify you, hey, you qualify for more home. And we use this all the time. All right. And then if you're not following me, which you guys are, most of you guys are probably from Instagram, follow me on TikTok. I need some followers. All right, guys. So hopefully that helps you guys out. Hopefully now you understand the seriousness of homeownership. My camera off? You see here. Camera off, guys. 1 second here, guys. Okay. See here. My camera off here. Trying to fix the camera. 1 second, guys.
I'll make sure everybody gets that ultimate mortgage guide tomorrow. And this time we definitely have a recording of this call. So I'll go ahead and send that out too.
So I want to say thank you to everybody who was on tonight. If you do have questions, I'll answer a couple questions here, but definitely DM us. I really appreciate a lot of your time to be here. And hopefully I gave you enough information so you can make the right decision for you and your family. And again, like I said, thank you guys so much. Hopefully you understand now, when you do become a homeowner, what did we learn today? We learned that Kina is the best real estate agent in the nation. Okay. And her team, that's not one thing we learned. Number two, we learned that when you're not buying a home to buy a home, you're preserving your future and your family's future. We also know when you get equity, go out and get that home equity line of credit ASAP when you start building equity. If you use another lender, realtor, I don't care, but protect yourself. God forbid you get laid off like my dad and you have that equity you can use to live life, or protect yourself from lawsuits or liens. I'm not saying that they can't happen, but less likely because you already have a second lien. And remember, if you go out and get a reverse mortgage, go with a broker with a low margin. I know some people, they're in that position where they don't need to do a reverse mortgage or a reverse mortgage. It's fine. But if you can't support your parents, let them do the reverse mortgage. If they want to live life, let them do it. Let them enjoy the life that they deserve because they bought their home, let you live there. And now if you can't help them, let them help themselves. And of course, if you have a home and you have equity over the years, you're in trouble. I don't like those home equity agreements, but they're there and they can save you. Let home ownership preserve and save your life. Okay? Thank you.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I just want to say, I know Min says a lot of nice things about me, and I say a lot of nice stuff about What's a Mortgage, but I really can't stress enough. We just want you guys to get the best deals possible and work with the best people possible, even if it's not us. Because the difference between working with a great team and not a great team is going to be the difference between you getting a better deal and not getting a better deal. And so when you're out there buying a home, changing your life, like really be cognizant and use these tips and tricks that we shared to go make it happen. And any questions that you guys have, even if we're not your agents or lenders, we're always here to help.
And guys, I know you guys have some questions here. The Wham wallet, Lexi, please DM me, or the questions you guys have, I'm going to have Kina team's going to reach out to you. I forgot we have a code. Let me get the code for you for the Wham wallet. I like literally forgot all about that. But send me a DM. But besides that, I really appreciate Santos. Yeah, we try to make sure that I provide information so that there's a reason why you buy a house. I don't want you to buy a house like, dude, I put all this money in a house that just sits here and I can't do anything with it. Use it to protect yourself. Okay. All right, guys, enjoy the night. Anything else you'd like to say, Kina?
Guys, even if you're not in California, we can help you. We're all here to help, but let us know.
Kina, so the recording, James will pull it from the cloud.
Yeah.
And then you can have it so you can chop it up, or if you need help, let me know.
Okay, and I've got it here too.
All right, cool. Bye.
I'll make sure you guys get Wham's Mortgage Ultimate Guide, and I'll send it over.
All right, cool. Bye.